Hello, Tansei et lanete ani bonjour. Welcome back to Our Shared Politics. My name is Nova. I am a settler on Turtle Island. I created this podcast to really showcase socialism instead of pursuing the Red Scare blindly, which just pushes people further apart. I wish to express acknowledgement that I am on Treaty 8 territory, home to the Tetskene, Deniza, Nahiawak, Soto, and BC Métis. It is essential I recognize all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit, both status and non-status, as the guardians of these lands. As a non-Indigenous person, I play a role as a treaty partner, being represented by the government. My pronouns are she, her, but I also accept they, them, and I fall under the 2S LGBTQIA+ umbrella. I'm filming this and the last episode back-to-back, so you might notice I'm in the exact same position, exact same clothing. What I want to talk today about is a petition that was brought forward in the House of Commons, Petition 441-02454. It's a justice petition. So, this petition to the House of Commons, we, the undersigned citizens and residents of Canada, draw the attention of the House of Commons to the following. Whereas nearly 100,000 abortions are performed annually in Canada, the Morgentaler decision to have zero abortion law goes directly against the Charter since it does not protect life. Canada is only one of two, the other nation being North Korea, to have zero abortion laws. Over 98% of abortions are for reasons of social or personal convenience, and the heartbeat starts when the baby is 5 weeks old. Therefore, we, the undersigned citizens and residents of Canada, call upon the Government of Canada to create/strengthen abortion regulation nationwide. That was presented a couple weeks ago to the House of Commons. And it was presented by none other than, of course, Conservative Party MP Arnold Viersen. He's the Peace River West Loch MP. But what I do find interesting is when he brought this up in the House of Commons, he made it seem as though this was like a lot of people had signed this. I have signatures. I got all these signatures. It's 47 signatures. 47. So you're going to tell me that 47 people are allowed to sign their name on a piece of paper and take away abortion rights from 40 million people? That's where we're at. Yeah? Interesting. I'd like to see this go to a referendum, is what I would like to personally see. Get every single fucking person who is allowed to vote, fuck it, go all the way down to 14 for this here referendum. Ask every single person from 14 up whether they think we should touch abortion in Canada, or if we should fucking leave it the way it's been for the last almost 60 years and just fucking leave it be. That's what I'd like to do. But, the Conservatives would never do that because that's too democratic. You want to see a dictatorship, look at the Conservative Party of Canada. It's ridiculous. 47 signatures, and he felt that was enough to bring it forward to the House of Commons to enact against 40 million people. Fucking ridiculous. So nearly 100,000 abortions are performed annually in Canada. Okay. The Morgentaler decision to have zero abortion law goes directly against the Charter since it does not protect life. False. It protects the mother's life. Fuck you, buddy. You're literally telling us that you don't think that women are deserving of life-saving fucking medical decisions being made from their own cognizance. If a woman decides that she wants to get an abortion, that is between her and her doctor. Nobody else. Guess what? And I said her and her doctor. Because the spouse or the father really doesn't matter at the end of the day. This is between the mother or the incubator and the doctor. It does not protect life. Okay, sure. Canada is only one of two, the other nation being North Korea, to have zero abortion laws. And what's your point of putting that in there other than just to fearmonger and to rage bait and to, create all these parallels between Justin Trudeau and a dictator like Kim Jong-un? No other reason to put that in. Over 98% of abortions are for reasons of social or personal convenience. And again, it's between the person carrying the fucking baby and their doctor. It's between nobody else. We don't get a fucking say in why anyone might want to have an abortion. The heartbeat starts when the baby is 5 weeks old. That, I think, is the most important one. And I think there's a reason they put it at the end as just kind of like a last little medical fact, basically, after dropping a couple of really big, kind of crazy statistics. They kind of drop one that's almost more low key, like the heartbeat starts when the baby's 5 weeks old. That's not nearly as like rage baity as like the other nation being North Korea. But the 5 weeks old one is the one that everyone should really be paying attention to, because that shows that that's where they're hoping to stop abortion at. They're going to try and do a 6-week ban, like in Alabama or Arizona or whichever states there are that have gone like really hardcore. I think Arizona actually is the one that enacted the fucking ban from 18 whatever, where it's like zero abortion across the board. But the heartbeat starts when the baby is 5 weeks old. That is because they are going to try to ban abortion starting at 6 weeks. Anyone who knows anything about pregnancy knows that you usually don't know you're pregnant till 6 to 8 weeks already into the pregnancy. And I just think the fact that Pierre Poilievre is trying to say, oh, I'm not going to touch abortion. Like, he said that the whole way through his campaign to get up to the Conservative Party leader. He said that multiple times when people have brought it up to him. I'm not going to touch abortion. I don't want to touch abortion. Abortion isn't on my fucking radar, basically. Yet he allows one of his MPs to bring this in to the House of Commons. I mean, I can only imagine that he knew that his MP was going to bring this up. If not, I think that says something else entirely. But I can see him trying to play it like, oh, well, that would be suppression of freedom of speech if I told them that we're not going to bring that up. Well, then don't tell journalists and anyone who asks for the last however long that you're not going to touch abortion, you don't support abortion laws, just to turn around and allow one of your MPs in probably one of the most conservative parts of Canada to fucking bring forward this to the House of Commons. And what I also think is interesting is that it's a paper petition. So this wasn't put on, like some petitions are electronic where anyone can go in and sign them. Then this is a paper petition where I can only assume Arnold Viersen, or at least his people, like his staff, actually went and collected signatures around Peace River Westlock. I don't know. I just think that's interesting that it's like an actual paper, like people had to actually sign it off. And even then they could only get 47 names. And it kind of seems almost shady to me that they didn't do an electronic petition, because you'd think something like this, they would want more conservatives to be aware of so that they could sign the petition, right? So that they could bring it forward with more than 47 signatures. But it's almost like they knew this wasn't going to go over well and this was going to start a media shitstorm. So they decided to do a paper petition so they could get just enough names to bring it forward, make it like binding, and just kind of blindside everyone with it. Because there are some people who just check the petition's website almost daily to see what new petitions are being put forward and stuff to make sure nothing like this is being done. And speaking of which, I then went looking for some sort of petition that was against this, like an anti-abortion law. like an anti-abortion law, I guess. Kind of like anti-abortion laws, not anti-abortion. So it's e-4860. You can go to houseourcommons.ca, and there you can find petitions. You can search for it, e-4860. It's a civil and human rights case. And it's an e-petition, so anyone can go on and sign it. It currently already has 593 signatures, and it is open until August 3rd. So this petition to the Government of Canada, whereas Canadians enjoy the right to life, liberty, and the security of the person, since 1988, Canadian women have enjoyed the legal right to protect their own security and determine their own future in relation to the carriage of a fetus to term, the right to choose, with abortions having long been funded by our universal healthcare system and provided on request and on a confidential basis for all ages. In 2022, notwithstanding 50 years of precedent and constitutional protection for life and liberty, the right to choose was overturned in the United States by the Supreme Court, resulting in a wave of harmful restrictions on the right to choose being imposed by state courts and legislatures. The leader of the official opposition has confirmed his willingness to allow members of parliament to introduce legislation to restrict the right to choose, and Canadians are not prepared to permit the right to choose to be made subject to or restricted by any Canadian legislature or by the prerogative, discretion, and or ideological bias of any politically appointed Canadian judge. We, the undersigned citizens of Canada, believe the state has no place in the bedrooms of the nation, and hereby call upon the Government of Canada to seek and secure the required resolutions of the Senate, House of Commons, and provincial legislatures to expressly entrench the right to choose by amendment of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That was brought forward by a Liberal caucus member, Jenica Atwin from Fredericton, New Brunswick. And again, there's 593 signatures. I've already signed it. I urge you to go and sign it as well. I will link it in my description and everything. You go on, you sign, you put on I think you literally give them your name and your email address, and then you have to go into your email address and validate your signature so that it actually gets counted towards the signature at the end. But so this has only been up for a month or so, and it's already got almost 600 signatures, which is good. At least it's blowing the other one out of the water. I really like that they put in here, emboldened, the state has no place in the bedrooms of the nation, because that is a Pierre Trudeau quote from when Pierre Trudeau made it legal to get abortions. And I just really like when they put that in there just to kind of fuck with the Conservatives, because I know the Conservatives probably just hate that it was, Pierre Trudeau that was good with abortion, and now it's Justin Trudeau that's just continuing on the legacy of the libs. And we're going to see a fight for abortions being started here in Canada. And, we have to thank our neighbors of the South for that. Not all of them, obviously. Mainly the orange one. But, yeah, they saw that it was possible. So now they're going to try it up here. And I don't know. Fuck them at this point, man. ABC, anything but conservative. That's what you need to remember when you go into the fucking voting poll. ABC. France actually was one of the first ones to bring in or to make it a constitutional right to request an abortion. It was actually really recently, this year, I think. They made it it's the very first country ever in the world to make, here we go. France became the world's first country to make women's free choice to request an abortion a constitutional right in March of 2024. And I think that's really amazing. And that kind of sounds like what the petition E-4860 is trying to do, where it talks about that we want them to expressly entrench the right to choose by amendment of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So it would go into our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Therefore, you would always have the right to choose. And I think we just need to not care what other people are doing with their bodies. If a woman decides that she wants to get an abortion and that's right for her, then she should be allowed to get an abortion and decide that that is what is right for her, or them, sorry, I guess he. For the pregnant person, if they so decide to get an abortion, that is their decision to make. Nobody else's. We don't even get a fucking choice in the matter. I don't even understand why it's a conversation piece. I mean, I do, because it's an E.G. rage baity decision piece, but come on, man. People have been fucking having abortions for years. You haven't heard about all the fucking, the tinctures and the herbs and stuff like that could cause abortions back in the day? Women have always known. And the thing is if you take away legal abortions, abortions don't stop, illegal abortions begin. That's where you start getting back alley abortions. That's where you start getting the coat hanger jokes and everything. Those aren't just like a fucking stand-up comedian came up with that sometime. Those were real things that happened when abortion was illegal. We all saw that cheerleader who killed her baby and dumped her in the fucking garbage. Those are things that happen with abortion available. Can you imagine what might happen if abortion is unavailable? You've got to be stupid to think that you're saving any lives whatsoever. I talked about in my last episode, Melissa Landsman talked about her trials with addiction, or like slightly kind of brushed upon it in the House of Commons as a kind of gotcha, fuck you to Trudeau, because Trudeau's apparently killing drug addicts with his bare hands, is how the Conservatives are fucking trying to make it sound. Anyways, and I want to say liberal, she might have been NDP, a different member, MP, got up and talked about how Canada saved her life by giving her the right for abortion, because she wouldn't be where she was today if she would have had to have her baby at, I think she was like 18 years old or 19 years old or something when she got an abortion. And then I was listening to a podcast later on. I was like, wow, I don't think I've ever heard of an MP talk about getting an abortion in Canada, like ever, really, like a member of parliament or like any politician standing up and talking about getting an abortion. So she stood up, talked about this, and then on a podcast I was listening to afterwards, someone kind of made a comment like, well, the House of Commons isn't somewhere to be talking about personal things like that, like as though it like made her uncomfortable to hear about. But it's completely okay for goody two-shoes Melissa Landsman to talk about her drug issues in Parliament, and that's not like something that's too personal or too, like, it's not like this abortion was just brought up willy-nilly out of nowhere. It was brought up after this whole abortion petition was brought forward. As always, thank you for joining me today. I drop a new episode every Monday morning at midnight, so check back in next week to see what I'll be sharing with you then. So-called Canada is in a fentanyl and mental health crisis right now. Please consider picking up a free naloxone kit at your local pharmacy and do not use alone. For any Indigenous listeners out there, the Hope for Wellness Helpline offers immediate culturally aware and trauma-informed help to all Indigenous people across Canada. It is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in English and French to offer immediate support and crisis intervention. While there are supports in Cree, Ojibwe, and Inuktitut, those are not available 24/7, so you may need to call in to find out the next time that a language speaker will be available. Call the toll-free helpline at 1-855-242-3310 or connect to the online chat at www.hopeforwellness.ca. And there is also the Thunderbird Wellness app that provides access to Indigenous perspectives on health and wellness, including substance abuse and mental health. Now, not that Indigenous people can't use these next resources, but they do not advertise as culturally aware or trauma-informed. So, for everyone else, if you must use a loan, please keep in mind that you can call 1-888-688-6677 to contact the National Overdose Response Services to access support while using and especially using a loan. And there is the Brave app with a use a loan timer that connects a paramedic with your location if you don't respond. For mental health support, you can contact 988 to get connected to a crisis responder. If you learned something new today, it'd be awesome if you'd click that button and follow along for next time. Or if you'd like to contact me with feedback, you can email me at oursharedpodcast@gmail.com.